Good afternoon. Welcome to the Be Connected Business Show. I'm your host, Mark Grant, commonly known as the Bank Fee Assassin from a business called Costless Payment Solutions. My guest on this episode is Antoni Berardone from Berardone, Adamson Legal. Good afternoon, my learned friend Antoni. How are you?
Good, thanks, Mark. Yourself?
I can't complain. Thank you, Antoni. Look, before we discover a little bit more about your legal practice and what you do to help people, please tell us a little bit about what you like to do when you're not at work.
Well, work takes up most of my time these days, but that's a good thing. I tend to try to spend time with friends and family. Something that I got back into again some time ago and have no regrets is board games, funnily enough.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So getting together with friends or families, it sounds like really like, I don't know, not that exciting, but once we started to rediscover the world of board games, it was like, oh my God, there's some really actually fun things to do here with people.
Yeah, that's different. It's certainly not what I expected. And that's over a dinner and a glass of wine or something, no doubt.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone comes around with a bit of food, couple bottles of wine, and then winner takes all, and we just have a bit of a good night. It's a good thing to do. It's just an excuse to not just socialize, but to do something a bit engaging while
Yeah.
you're socializing, and it's fun. It's fun.
Well, we do know how short this life is. Yeah. Anything else apart from your board games and dinners and things?
Try to get out and play a bit of tennis every now and again. I used to try and play once, twice a week, but these days I'm lucky to play once a quarter.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
Yeah. And where did you just offhand? Where did you study your law?
So I got my degree from Bond University on the Gold Coast. But then I did my graduate diploma in legal practice at the College of Law, and I'm almost completed my Masters of Law with a double major, which is commercial litigation and dispute resolution, also through the College of Law.
My goodness. And what made you go those extra steps?
Yeah, well, because I also did my mediation training through College of Law, so I'm qualified and registered mediator as well. And basically, the reason for the masters, the mediation, all of it sort of stems from the same origin. Um, there's a dispute resolution in Australia, especially in Southeast Queensland, is not easy at the best of times. And the reality is, there's a lot of people out there that do treat it just like a job. And so they do the minimum, they get qualified. And not that that's a small minimum, mind you, it's a lot to get to even that point. And then they sort of treat the journey as over. It's like, oh, I can just do the work now. I sort of wanted to take it to a point of excellence. So I've hunted opportunities to just develop those skills further so that I have more options and tools to be able to actually get these outcomes. And it's absolutely paid off. I mean, just the last week, I've spent 6 or 7 days negotiating an $11 million company shareholder dispute, and this thing looked like it was just going to explode. Now, the litigator side, the lawyer side, I advocate for my client. No worries, let's go sue everyone. Let's get in there, have a brawl, and I explain this to all the parties, including my client. It's like there's two outcomes you can push for it. It's your best possible outcome, or it's your most commercial outcome, best commercial outcome. And I explained to him was like, at law, you can get a better outcome than this commercial one, theoretically speaking, but it'll cost you so much time, money, and resources and do so much damage to this company that you're probably going to be worse off by the time you get to that point as a net position. And this is where the dispute resolution skills and the mediation skills came out. I almost basically stepped into that role of a mediator because it was the best thing for the client. And by the end of it, even I was surprised. The negotiated settlement, we're drafting the deed up actually over the last couple of days. The negotiated settlement is better than he would have gotten in a courtroom. It has cost him less than 10% of what it would have cost him to go the distance. And we did it in the space of a couple of weeks instead of 18 to 24 months. And it's those sorts of solutions that are really atypical, because a lot of your litigation lawyers, like, oh, this is the procedure, this is your rights at law, let's just do that. Whereas we can come at this, I can come at this with more creative options sometimes, not all the time, but when it lands, it lands.
Yeah, so what you're doing really is offering a very, very personal approach to a very complex part of law.
Yeah, it's. I think it stems from a lot of lawyers. It's finish school, get your degree, start learning the law at a firm, and that'll flavor what your career looks like from there. Whereas I had a bit of a different journey. Like I finished school, went to the Royal Military College Duntroon down in Canberra,
Mm,
and I spent
yes.
2 years training to lead people and engage with people in very stressful situations. Like that's all you do for 2 years of officer training, minus obviously some other army stuff. Is how do you deal with stress? How do you manage people with stress and in stressful environments? Which litigation lives and breathes that. And then from there, went into civilian management for different businesses and my own businesses for about 8, 9 years, parallel to doing the law before I ended up opening my own firm. And so, unlike a lot of lawyers, I've got a huge amount of life experience that is not just restricted to life working within a law firm.
Hmm.
And especially for commercial litigation. Like I've had successful and failed businesses in my own history when I was younger, learning what it is to own a business, run a business, and appreciating that commercial aspect and the other stresses that go along with it from such an early point in my career and carrying that on through has just given me a lot of ability to empathize, understand, prioritize. I mean, even we did an advice for a complex matter, and this particular client of mine runs about 6 businesses, turns over 6 to 7 mil a year. Like his time is ridiculously valuable. Now, this complex advice was about 15 pages. Like there was a lot of material in there, and I have to provide it. Like that's what you've paid for, and by law, I have to give you fulsome advice. One extra step that we do that I haven't seen a lot of firms do is we just had a summary blurb right near the top. And it's like, hey, here's your cliff notes of the important stuff and where you can go in this document to get the. So, for example, hey, here's this point, here's this answer. Paragraphs X to X within the wider advice break this into more detail. That little summary and the ability to navigate that allows him, when he's busy, to come back to this 3 months from now and go, oh, I need that question again. Yeah, oh, it's these paragraphs within there that I need to focus on. Flick, 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 bang, that's my answer. Read it in a bit more detail. It's those little things coming from an understanding of what your life, daily life looks like as a business owner and the challenges in that that help really target something that gives you more value than just I paid a bunch of money for a very complicated answer that I can barely digest.
Okay. So I think you may have just answered another one of my questions. So I had a question here. Being a commercial litigant as you are, you resolve business-related disputes through legal action. And I was going to ask you, why did you become a commercial litigant?
Yeah, well, I think I've danced around some of that answer. You're right in
Yeah.
terms of some of the stuff in here. I think to articulate a sentence, it's I've always been passionate about business. Like even when from a young age, like I remember going to, and I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs have these stories. It's like, when I was a kid, da da da, I tried X, and I did too. When I was a kid, I saw a hole in the market at school. It was just at the start of changing all the cafeteria food to like healthy food. And so I went out at the ripe age of, I think it was like 15 or something around there and bought, soft drink, lollies, all this stuff and like smuggled it into school and started selling it for like a flat $2 coin, I think it was per product. I was making a killing. The school shut me down. I was bankrupting the cafeteria. But it's business is one of the very few vehicles in this world that can A, improve your personal circumstances, whilst B, improving the circumstances of those around you, whether it be employees, clients, the people you interact with. It's a very powerful tool and it excites me because of that. And so I've focused my whole career, professional career, around business.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Oh, you're very passionate. I've noticed that. I've seen that in action. Okay, so a business owner, what would they need to do, or what steps do they need to take to avoid commercial litigation against them?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a tough question. So it depends on the business is the first answer. And I realize it's like such a lawyer answer. It was like, it depends. But, it is definitely very industry specific as to how you would approach the best ways to avoid getting into litigation. The general tips and tricks right to the forefront are every problem that you think is a problem will be a bigger problem if you ignore it. So I give you an easy example is every business has, not every, most businesses have employees, clients, things like that. And it's a hard measure of, oh, this client's complaining or this employee is doing some stuff that I think isn't entirely appropriate. When do I spend that money to engage? And especially with small businesses, it's a real struggle. With big businesses, they've got the funds to recognize that, oh, we engage early. Well, even if this isn't a problem today, things like this happen in business. We'll build the system off this, and our business will become safer and less likely to get into complex litigation down the road. Small businesses don't have that luxury. They just don't have the funds to, be preventative on every single issue in business. There's too many issues. So the general rule of thumb I found to work quite well is, do you think about this problem before you go to sleep more than 2 nights in a week, 3 nights in a week? If it is plaguing your mind that much, it's definitely the time you actually engage someone to get at least have the conversation. Like I've taken an approach generally of, hey, look, jump on the phone with me. I'll give you 10, 15 minutes. Let's just have a chat about it. And if I hear something in here that's spooky, I'm going to push you in that direction. Or if not, I'm going to go, hey, yeah, it could be a problem, but it doesn't need you to spend that type of money now. Not sure. But if it's keeping you up at night, I've spoken to the big matters that I've had with small businesses, the ones that have sometimes ruined their businesses. It's, man, this was keeping me up at night for like weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And I should have done this ages ago. And I was like, why didn't you? It's like, oh, I didn't want to spend the money. It's like, it's stopping you sleeping. It is clearly, you deep down, this is only going to get worse before it gets better. It's not going to go anywhere. Like the most common one I hear is, oh, I just kept doing the work. The bill kept getting bigger. They weren't paying, but every week it was, oh, this deal's going to come through and I'm going to get paid. And it just week rolled into week, and now it's like gone from a 10 grand debt to a 50 grand debt. And so why didn't you stop work? Oh, because I need the work. Yeah, but they're not paying. But they were going to pay. No, they're not. There's a reason they haven't paid. They can't. They're promising you the world because they need you. They need you to keep going because they are leeching off your business to stay afloat. But we lie to ourselves because it's less scary and it's less conflict. So yeah, I realize that's a very long-winded answer, but I feel like that's a good rule of thumb. Has it kept you up more than 2 nights in a week? At least jump on the phone and have a chat.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Anthony. People out there may be thinking, yeah, look, I have got an issue in my business. It has been keeping up more than 2 or 3 nights a week. Why should they come to Berardone Adamson Legal for the advice?
Really good question. I think, especially when you look at law firms in the litigation space, there's lots of different firms that have different approaches. There's no one size fits all. I think where BA Legal really steps up is a couple of things. The most fundamental is why I went out and started my own firm. I've worked at some of the better litigation firms and one or two not so good ones around Southeast Queensland. And it's been a great experience that has allowed me to tailor especially with my own business experience, what I think is the real value to the clients. And it's worked great for our clients. Hasn't always worked great for me. A lot of firms, like I said, they're very rigid within, this is the procedure, this is the way we give you and us the maximum protection and maximum risk avoidance, which comes at a premium. With BA, we weren't here to basically farm the client for coin to try and solve every problem and address every single risk. We can, and we give the option, and it's up to the client how far they want to go. But it's, hey, here's actually all the information you need in a way that's easy to digest. Now, you as the business owner, you need to make the commercial decision. How much can you afford to fight this? What is your biggest problems and what can we target? It's a really tailored approach to how do we get the best value for that business and its problems, as opposed to the standard law firm practice of, this is your problem, here's your legal answers, it's going to cost you this much. So to give you an easy example, I had a client come through, they've got a myriad of problems. One of their problems basically is a dispute. And I'm like, look, we're staring down the barrel of 20 to 25 grand to get this thing going. Then it's going to be 10 to 15 grand a month for the next months. Like this has got some meat in it. But on the alternative, that's your full legal right. You can do that. Or on the alternative, we can focus on this part of the dispute only. You will spend far less. You'll potentially get this outcome. It's just not going to be your full legal entitlements, but it's an outcome that's going to help you move on without spending the time, money, and resources. And they jumped on that. We had this solved in about 3 weeks. Whereas your average firm, they're going to turn around and go, yep, 15 grand a month. We'll be here for the next 12 to 18 months because we're going to help you pursue your full rights instead of going, here's all the options.
Yeah.
Here's the options tailored for you. What makes sense for you and your business today?
Yeah, I think it's very fresh, the approach you have to your costings for your clients. So I think you need to be applauded with that. So
Yeah,
as I've
it's
got
good.
to
It's
know you,
different.
yeah, as I've got to know you, you're providing a personal approach to the law.
Yeah, and look, it makes it hard to scale up. I
Yeah,
was joking to someone the other day. Our biggest problem is we keep fixing problems. um, so we're very very busy, but unlike to grow a litigation firm, normally you have all these big rolling matters, and because they're rolling and they'll be going on for some time, you can budget against that, hire more staff, grow. But with us, because we keep solving problems, it makes it really awkward to continue to grow. And it's a good thing, and it'll pay off down the road as we do naturally grow. But yeah, in the interim, that growth is quite awkward, funnily enough. So it does give me an appreciation for why some firms do take the approach they do. It's more systematized, it's easier, it's cheaper, it's more efficient for the firm, but it's not the best thing for the client. And so we're actively just going to bite the bullet and try and make it work in a way that's just more valuable to the
yeah.
client.
No, no, congratulations. Look, do you have any closing words for our listeners this afternoon?
Um,
Advice.
probably the only thing that I'd pull out is law is complex, it's scary, it's ever changing, and it's in every single thing you do. Um, I think a lot of people really focus on, and if there was one thing I could get out to everyone in your community, which is a business focused community, is you focus so much on your business as you should as a business owner that sometimes you're marching your entire life's work straight into the gates of Mordor purely because you're just focusing only on that. It's a lot of the times that I've seen really good businesses struggle and run into real trouble is this active decision to just, that law thing, it doesn't matter. Like it'll all come out in the wash. We'll just keep going forward. Eventually it'll be right. Jump on it early, do it right. You've put so much time and energy into building whatever your businesses are that it's not fair to you or what you've built not to treat little things with the seriousness that they deserve, because those little things will inevitably become the big things that can eventually destroy your baby. So that it's probably the thing I would stress the most.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Anthony. Look, I'm sure some of our listeners are wanting to connect with you. How can they do so?
It's a good thing you asked that. So we've been around for quite a while now. We're getting close to, oh God, as a going concern, 9 months, and we still don't have a website.
Yeah.
Because it's so busy, we just haven't sat down and turned it on. So probably the best way at the moment would just be to email us. Um, at the moment, if you Google Berardone Adamson Legal, our LinkedIn should come up, our Facebook should come up. It has our email all over the place. So getting into contact with us that way isn't too hard. But yeah, website on its way. But if you Google Berardone Adamson Legal,
Yeah.
you will find our LinkedIn's,
Yeah.
and you should be able to track us down from there.
Yeah. People can track you down through your BCW
And
profiles.
yeah, we're on BCW as well, so we've got our profile set up on that one.
Yep.
And website to come soon.
No, look, thanks again for your time. Thank you to our listeners for being with us again. I hope to be back with you again soon with another one of our Be Connected World members from around Australia, introducing you to them and how they can help you add value back to your life. So until next time, take care. Bye.